Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be taking care of re-oiling the shocks. We're going to be taking them apart, checking to make sure everything's all right, filling up with oil. I'll tell you what oil I'm going to use and just kind of some general maintenance stuff for that. A couple things that you want to note before you start taking the shocks off. First off is the position on the A-arm. So if you take a look down here, you'll see that these shocks currently are on the outside. And if you like them, that's why you got to take note of the position, because you'll want to obviously keep them the same. This is the front of the car. The bottom of the car is actually on the second one to the right. There's 4 holes down there. Each one of these is on the second to the right. So if you can't remember, or you don't trust yourself to remember where they're at, just take pictures. I mean, I think that's probably a good rule of thumb no matter what you're doing on the car. If you're new to it, you're nervous about it, just take lots of pictures. Take before pictures so that you can line it up afterwards. Let's take off shock and I'll show you how to do it. Now, I'm going to be doing one shock on camera. The rest of them are exactly the same. What you'll want to note is your front and rear shocks, though. You do not want to mess those up. Again, take pictures if you want. And a lot of times the spacing is different, right? So if you look here, this collar is going to be different than what I have going on in the back. Okay, this one has a much wider collar. It's actually 3 of them stacked on top of each other in this particular one. You know, take note of that. Make sure that you put them back on correctly. Okay, so I've laid out most of the things that we're going to be using today. Your mileage may vary a little bit, but it's gonna be pretty close. So first off, paper towels. You're gonna wipe everything down, make it nice and clean, okay? Second thing is obviously your shock, and then your shock oil. Go over what we're gonna be doing today. I've got a 30 and a 40 weight. I'm gonna go 40 in the front and 30 in the back. Kind of 2 reasons for doing this. Whenever I land rough, it's normally in the front, so getting a little extra, weight in the front, I think, as far as shocks go, I think is a good idea. And the other thing is that when I go on the track, my back end is very slippery, so being lighter in the back, okay, I think upon acceleration, it's going to tighten in the back, maybe give it a little bit more grip, okay? So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. I don't know, we'll see if it works. You'll want something to catch the oil in. I'm just using this. I mean, it's a water bottle. And also I'm gonna lay my shock in that too, set it in there. This is an upgrade that I'm doing today with it. So these are the Traxxas tops of the shock, okay? Shock caps, and they're aluminum. What generally happens is that these will strip out, and so once it strips out, it ruins the threads. It can ruin the thread on the actual body of the shock, and then you're buying another shock. This is gonna help with that, okay? It'll help eliminate that. It's $14. If you're looking for a part number, TRA3767A. These fit all Ultra shocks. Rustler, your Slashes will use these, your Bandits will use this, and I think your Stampedes use these too. I'm not sure about Stampede, you might have to check. And then some gloves, and that's about it. So let's set this stuff aside for a second. All right, so the gloves are on. Let's get started. So first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna grip it here. You are going to depress the spring. Okay, this is the piece that you're trying to get off of there. See how it's got a collar on there? So you're gonna push it forward and slide it off. That's it. Set this aside, let go slowly, and you can slide that spring right off. Here's the other holder for the spring. Okay. The rest of this stuff you can leave on there unless you're doing a total rebuild. I'm not going to do a total rebuild today, so we can leave that on there. We do want to get a rag and just kind of clean this thing up a little bit. So let me get that. I think people get scared a little bit about working on these things. It's not that hard to do. You just follow the steps that you do and just do it in reverse. It's not that difficult. So, all right. Much cleaner. So now we're gonna have to take the top off of this thing, okay? If you can't do it by hand, get yourself the Allen key. This comes with it. Grip it hard and, oh man, this thing's really stuck on there. When it is really stuck on there, you're gonna have to crimp this somehow or hold on to it. I'm sorry. So I just use the pliers. I mean, they make shock pliers, but I don't know. Most people have something like this, so why waste the money? I know people cringe at that, but okay. Hold them together, start to unscrew. There we go, broke it loose. You don't want to grip it here, that's the only thing, on the actual shaft. If you put a burr in that, it's not going to decompress correctly. It's going to get bounced up. So take the top off. Here's your little bladder. You want to set this aside. Okay, just remember how it goes basically. So it was bladder down or bubble down. And then you are simply pouring out the old stuff. I don't know why, it's just satisfying when it comes out and it's dirty. I've never touched these shocks since I bought it, so that's probably why. It looked like there was a good amount in there though. All right, now just pump it a couple times, get all of that out. It's still coming out of there, so. Now I'm gonna hold this a second right in there. Okay, looks good. Now again, this is the front, so I'm gonna do 40 weight. TLR, shock oil, 40 weight. Let me see, maybe make sure I can get this up on camera. All right, and you are gonna make a mess. Okay, so you've given that time to settle. Take a lot of the bubbles off of it. I took my gloves off. They are way too hot. Okay, you can tell no bubbles in here. And that's perfect. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna set this back down, and that's about the right amount of oil too. Doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, you see a lot of guys on YouTube that have a perfect system to it. I don't. I mean, I'm not like racing them in the finals, so here's some of the different standoff. Nice quality foam, Traxxas. Thank you. All right. Get yourself a cap. If you're not replacing this, then obviously get your old cap, but highly recommend it. All right, then you're gonna want to grab this again. This is the bladder, I believe, and you'll just set this on here. I may have a little bit much, so just take it off, wipe some off. And you'll know if you have too much, it doesn't sit on there nicely. There we go. just screw that back on there. Take your rag. All right, I'm gonna grab this again and tighten it down. You can't take the wrench to tighten it all the way, otherwise you can do it probably by hand, but I'm gonna be safe and do it with the wrench. Careful, do not over tighten this though, because now you have, I mean, you can strip the body threads too, so. And that's basically it. Clean it up. While you got everything off, you might as well clean it, right? Okay, now that we got the cap on, you are just reversing the process, okay? So, well, I'll start with this. It's got a little bit of bounce back, that's perfect. Again, like, I'm not building a Rolex watch here. I'm just filling them back up with oil. So you want your retainer, put it all the way on. Pinch the clip, bottom retainer on, and release. And there you have it. Completed shock. So you basically follow that on the other three. Here's the before, and here is the after. So, upgraded the shock caps, put 30 in the front, 40 in the front, 30 in the back. Okay, so there you saw it. I mean, honestly, I can't tell that much of it different. I mean, I'm getting a little bit better just with my own skill wise. So I don't know that, adjusting the shock with 40 and 30 makes that much of a difference, but, just putting the shock caps on there and upgrading those is a good upgrade. And not only that, but you do want to change the shock oil out, every once in a while too, just to make sure that it is clean and not destroying your shocks.